Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel Acrylic Saniya. Today we are going to make a minimalistic art and we'll start with making the texture paste for this minimalistic boho art. Here I am using spackling paste by DAB. So we need to make texture paste for our boho painting. For this we will be mixing spackling paste, a little molding paste, and we'll add little titanium white color to the paste. This is the molding paste I am using. I'm using Golden Brand's molding paste, and you need to take very little of it. Like the ratio would be like 4:1, where 4 will be the spackling paste and 1 will be the molding paste. Here I'm adding a little gesso instead of titanium white because I wanted the consistency of texture paste to be a little thin. You can also add titanium white if you want. Now the key thing of this texture paste is the texture paste should be very fine. You need to massage it very well. Make sure that there are no lumps to avoid cracks in your painting. As you can see, I'm taking a larger knife and I'm just mixing the paste really very well. This is also the most satisfying part of this painting and kind of a stress reliever. So take your time and mix the paste nicely until you see a very smooth texture paste. I'm purposely showing you how I'm mixing the paste because this is very important step. You need to make sure that the paste is very fine. Now we'll move to our next step, and these are the things I'm using to make the texture. These are basically the cake decorating things you'll get in Dollar Tree or any basic store. Here I am spreading the texture paste which we created previously. I'm using a knife to spread this evenly on the canvas. I'm making sure that the base on which we are going to make the arch is even and it's not too thick or not too thin. If it's too thick, there are chances that it might get cracked. If it's too thin, like still it will get cracked. So you need to make sure that it's not too thick or not too thin. One important thing is make sure your painting isn't heated dry or fan dried. You have to make your painting dry naturally to avoid the cracks in your painting. Keep your hand firm on table or any flat surface to make this arch, because that's the key to make a very clean arch, that your hands are very stable and they are not moving. Don't worry about the excess or extra part that is not even or that doesn't look nice. We can always go ahead and clean it. Now just because I'm doing this doesn't mean that you'll get it right in the first attempt. I have done many attempts before this to get the arch very clean. A little here and there is fine because when the texture dries, we are going to sand it to make sure that it is smooth and it looks nice. You can always go over the same section again and again until you are satisfied with the texture or the shape of the text arch you are doing. Now I'm cleaning out the excess texture on the sides to make sure that our painting looks neat and clean. I'm using the same cake decorating devices or the tools which we get. You can also use a knife to do this, but I prefer using the tools because it's way more easier to use it and you can keep your hands stiff while you're doing this. Keep a tissue or a wet cloth handy to keep cleaning the tools because it's really difficult to clean it while you're actually painting or actually cleaning the canvas. I'm reminding you again, make sure that you're not heated dry or fan drying your painting. It has to compulsorily dry in the natural weather where it's not too hot or not too cold to avoid the crack in the painting. And while you're painting, make sure you're enjoying this process because that's the most important thing while you're painting, that you're enjoying and having fun. Now I'm using another canvas and we are going to do another arch because we are creating a duo piece over here. Here I'm using a stretched canvas, and it is a necessity to use a stretched canvas while you're doing textured art because it might get cracked if you are trying to do it on a paper or if the canvas is not stretched. You can also create this texture paste in bulk if you want, and you can store it in an airtight container so that you can reuse this texture paste again and again if you are planning to do this painting in steps. Now we are repeating the process, but this time the design is a little different. As you can see, I'm keeping my both the hands on the tools to make sure that my hands are stiff and they are not moving and I have a really good lines. Cleaning out the edges. Now while you're cleaning, make sure that you're putting a little pressure on the canvas because we want our canvas to look very neat and clean. You can use masking tape and stick it behind the canvas so that it won't move. It usually takes anywhere anywhere between 12 to 24 hours for this painting to completely dry. Let it dry completely before you start painting on top of it. Now here are the colors I'm using. I'm using raw sienna and white, and I'm mixing it with a little orange. Like, this completely depends on you what shade you want for this particular painting. I wanted it to be a little minimalistic and mild colors. I'm using earthy color tones here. A lighter tone of raw sienna and grey green. Now here I am just using a flat brush to color on top of the arches. Here I have speeded up the process because I don't want to bore you guys with elongated processes. So I'm just coloring on top of it. Make sure you are doing this properly because we don't want to spoil the edges, and we want to make sure our edges are clean and look neat. I'm using a little soft bristle brushes because I want to make sure that the color penetrates through the texture and we don't have any sections where our brush is not able to reach the bottom of the canvas. If you're not confident while coloring the edges of the arch, make sure you're taking a more thinner brush. I had to keep this painting for about a day for it to completely dry because we cannot pan dry it or heat dry it. Now you can create your own designs, you can choose your own color while you're doing this. Do share your projects with me if you are following this tutorial and you're creating something of your own. I would love to see your projects, and also if you have any recommendations, they are more than welcome to comment. What would you like to see next in my videos? Now this is the second design which we created. I'm starting here with a gray green color. So I'm using acrylic colors from Liquid X Basic. You can use any brand's acrylic color, that's totally fine. Now I wanted something, a leafy design to go on this boho to make it look more attractive. So I just filled the texture paste. I added black color in it and filled it in a cone. If you're not comfortable using cone and painting the leaf, you can always use a brush and black color and you can paint over it. If you don't want this design, you can of course skip it and just keep it as simple, just the arches. I wanted to give it a more decent boho look, that's why I went with the texture. Here I'm filling the edges with the texture with cone itself because it's very difficult to give the shape while you are working with knife. If you're comfortable directly giving the shape with a knife, you're more than welcome to do it. Don't worry if your leaves looks a little bumpy and they are not flat. You can always sand it. Sorry, like I wasn't able to recall the word what it's called. I haven't covered this in this video, but like once this is completely dry, you can varnish this painting using a matte varnish, specifically matte varnish, because you don't want this painting to be glossy and lose the minimalistic look. You can use varnish. The spray varnish would be better because this is texture art and it's very difficult to use other varnishes apart from the spray ones. The spray ones are like easy, you just need to spray on top of your paintings once it's completely dried. It will protect your painting from dust and sun. Thank you so much for watching my videos.